So right, Thomas, even though the odds of this happening in your office are very low, the cost to your bottom line is astronomical, and the human impact it would be devastating. So we absolutely want to pay attention to this.
Yeah, that's right, Matt. Even though this may be statistically unlikely to happen in your workplace, and we certainly hope that it doesn't, we absolutely want to be prepared for something like this.
So, Thomas, you were going to talk to us a little bit about some of those warning signs, some of those indicators that one of your employees might become violent, might become an active shooter. So, some of these seem kind of obvious to me, like the repeated violations of policy. It's probably in their personnel file. They either violated them or they didn't. But can you tell me, like, for example, empathy towards violent individuals? What does that look like? How are we going to know if somebody has that?
Yeah, I think when we talk about empathy towards violent individuals, I think it's important to remember that we're not talking about empathizing with the stressors that might lead someone to violence. For example, having empathy or sympathy for someone suffering from depression. What we're talking about here, Matt, is someone who is empathizing directly with a perpetrator and the act of violence they perpetrated. This is a kind of toxic empathy that can manifest itself even in jokes about workplace violence, what you might call inappropriate gallows humor.
Okay, so let's say we're sitting around the lunch table and a recent shooting comes into the conversation, works its way into the conversation. How might that sound?
The individual might express direct sympathy towards, or even say that they relate to the individual who committed this act, that they could understand where they're coming from. And again, it may manifest itself as an inappropriate joke about the event or the tragedy.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Now, that last item on this short list here, I know there are other indicators besides these things here, but the fascination with weaponry. I have a slight issue with this. Help me understand, because at least in this part of the country, there are a lot of hunters. Help me out with this.
Yeah, well, we're certainly not targeting hunters here. When we talk about workplace violence warning signs, we're talking about a fascination with weapons coupled with the other warning signs we've talked about today and that you see listed on the screen there. So, someone having access to or an interest in firearms is not by itself cause for concern necessarily. What would be a cause for concern is someone with access to weapons who is also exhibiting these other signs and symptoms, such as that toxic empathy for individuals who commit active violence, hostile feelings towards the workplace and the people in it, financial problems, family problems, substance use problems, problems with anger management, and so forth.
That makes a lot of sense, and thank you for that clarification. Now, Thomas, at the beginning of this webinar, you spoke about the importance of having a good debriefing. Can you help our audience understand why this is so important and what goes into it? What are the tenets of a good debriefing?
Absolutely, Matt. One of the best practices following an incident of workplace violence or any traumatic event that affects a number of employees in the workplace is a structured debriefing. Now, This is not therapy. This is not group counseling. This is a process group experience where individuals who are directly impacted can come together with a trained third-party provider.
Like us, that's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And they would discuss with that provider, with that Ulliance representative, their reactions to what occurred. Let me tell you a little bit more about this.